Are we seeing a rise of anti-Semitism in the United States, in your view?
Yes, absolutely. There's no question about the rise of anti-Semitism, and contrary to President Trump's condemnation, he's actually been a large contributor to the environment in which this anti-Semitism has been flourishing. Of course, anti-Semitism has been on the rise globally. It is not just an American phenomenon, but we see it in Europe as well. But in the United States, a particular right-wing form of anti-Semitism has been flourishing since Donald Trump was elected, actually since he began his campaign. This is not a media sensation. According to the Anti-Defamation League, there have been just over 90 bomb threats since January of this year. And according to the Security Community Network, I have their report here, there have been 190 anti-Semitic incidents just in the last 45 days in the United States. So it really is breathtaking.
Yeah. Are you, of course, I think it is clear the rise of anti-Semitic crime or messages, but we have also seen the kind of hatred toward other minority groups on the rise as well. So are you sure that this is just singled out against the Jews, or it's in general against minority groupings?
It's both. Anti-Semitism, both historically and in our current moment, arises together with the hatred of other minority groups. That has historically been true, and it is true in the present. That one does not negate the other. Donald Trump's targeting of immigrants, of minority groups, his use of anti-Semitic rhetoric and hateful rhetoric against a large number of groups have contributed to that environment. The targeted attacks against Jewish cemeteries, the planned mass killing of Jews in a synagogue. One man in South Carolina was arrested for planning a mass killing of Jews in a synagogue. These are deliberately targeted against Jews. But yes, it flourishes within a climate in which other minority groups are targeted as well.
So are you saying the reason that there is a rise of hatred against a minority grouping, is that because of Donald Trump's coming into office, being elected to be the President of the United States, or there has been some kind of grudges or grievances against a minority grouping in the making already for a while? What would you say?
What Donald Trump has done is emboldened a minority group in the United States, a group of white nationalists that are a very small number of Americans. But because he has surrounded himself with advisors who lean or from what's called the alt-right, or the far-right neo-Nazi leaning elements of the Republican Party and of the right wing in the United States, he has managed to embolden these groups to feel that they can now assert themselves in a way that they haven't before. And he's done this rather deliberately. He's done this through winks and nods to these groups throughout his campaign. He refused for a long time to condemn the KKK. He retweeted signs and articles from these anti-Semitic right-wing groups. He was not very forthcoming with his condemnation of even of these incidents, although he's very quick to condemn, Arnold Schwarzenegger for not getting enough ratings, or his political opponents through a tweet. So he very much deliberately was using these groups to come into power, and has benefited from that enabling.
But at the same time, we're seeing that, for instance, during the joint press conference with visiting Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he has shown or exhibited a particularly close relationship with Israel, with the people of Israel. And we also know that his son-in-law is also Jewish. So what do you make of this? I mean, to me, this is a mixed signal again.
Sure. Support of Israel and the enabling of these white nationalist groups are not mutually exclusive. In fact, quite the opposite. Trump, I don't know what he personally believes in his heart of hearts, but it doesn't matter. He's perfectly willing to use these right-wing groups to come into power. He plays with fire, and as a result, he's created a climate in which these acts are taking place. His support of the State of Israel and of a particular right-wing government in Israel and the settlement movement is not mutually exclusive to his capacity to enable these groups, and the fact that his son-in-law is Jewish is just a fig leaf.
The Israeli Foreign Ministry spokesperson has said that the Philadelphia Jewish cemetery desecration is shocking and a source of worry, and they have shown confidence that the Trump administration would take care of that. In case that the kind of action or rhetoric against hate crime towards the Jews will not be so forthcoming immediately following these incidents, how do you think the relationship between the United States and Israel could be affected, or do you think it will be affected at all?
Yeah, I don't see the relationship with Israel as changing anytime soon because of these particular incidents. But we need to distinguish between the Israeli population and the Israeli government. There are many Israelis who have shown solidarity with the American Jewish community and have condemned these acts and view Trump as a horror. But the Israeli government, the Netanyahu's Likud-led government, has largely viewed Trump as an ally and as a hero who has supported the undermining of the two-state solution.
Finally,
so I don't see the Netanyahu-led government.
Yeah. Finally, Donald Trump is continuing on his track of defending his positions so far on many different fronts. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic that the rising tide of anti-Semitism is going to die down or be cured with some possible measures coming out of the new administration?
Yeah, even Donald Trump's condemnation of these vandalist attacks on the cemeteries came at the same time that he raised doubts that these were even anti-Semitic incidents in the first place. He suggested that perhaps it was his political opponents or the Democratic Party that were behind these attacks. That kind of doublespeak does not bode well for the future. It does not indicate that Donald Trump is seriously condemning these acts. It actually is pretty consistent with the way he's been since the beginning of his campaign, which is on the one hand to throw a bone to civility or to condemnation, and on the other hand to dog whistle to these right-wing groups, to wink and nod and give them the message that they have the political cover to do what they want.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shaun Halper, joining us from Yale University.